Hello, I'm going to talk a bit more about breastfeeding. I'll talk a bit about how I kind of got started with it. So basically, I went into hospital to have Aubrey. She had to be induced because she was overdue. And for all sorts of reasons, I ended up having a C-section. So as soon as I came out of the C-section, Aubrey was put on me. And luckily, she took straight to the boob, and got the colostrum, etc., that she needed out of me. And while I was in hospital, she was doing really well in terms of being on the boob and feeding pretty well. We took her home a couple of days later after I'd been given the all clear for like my stitches and all that business. And that's really when the pain started. So it felt very much for the first maybe 3 or 4 days engorged, which is completely normal, and that's basically when your boobs fill up with milk. And it's obviously, if you're a first time mum, it's the first time it's happened to you, and they go really, really hard and they feel lumpy, and it's just really, really unpleasant. As we kind of got into the rhythm of things with Aubrey in terms of how often she was eating, which was every couple of hours or so, really, maybe a bit more frequently, maybe an hour and a half or so, my boobs started feeling a little bit better in terms of the hardness, but the pain was kind of coming down the sides then every time the milk was coming in during the day. So Aubrey would feed for maybe 10-15 minutes, then she'd fall asleep, and then my boobs were trying to work out how much milk I needed and this, that and the other. And so I was getting let down, as it's called, every kind of half an hour or so, and it was really intense, and I was getting shooting pains down the side of my boobs, and it was absolutely excruciating. I can't tell you how toe curling it was. I mean, it was just awful. And so this carried on really for 8 weeks, and it was unbelievably painful. And then added on top of that was that my actual boobs, the nipples, were cracked. And they were cracking every single time she was feeding, and I was putting Lancino on, which is the lanolin cream that you can get, and I would highly, highly recommend that if you've got cracked nipples or sore nipples, because it's the only thing that gave me any kind of soothing kind of that soothed it at all. So it was really, I mean, beyond painful. And I remember sitting and crying and just being so upset because of the pain. And it wasn't that I was beating myself up because I couldn't do it or whatever. It wasn't that. It was just so painful. It just hurt so much. So for anyone that is wanting to breastfeed, my experience, and I know all of my friends who've breastfed have found that at some point or another it hurts. And for all that it's people saying, oh, you're not doing it properly, it shouldn't hurt. If it hurts, you're not doing it properly. It's a skill that you're both having to learn, because you're learning what's happening with your body and the baby's learning how to eat, having been fed inside you for 9 months. So I find that attitude quite irritating, to be honest, and I think you should give yourself time. If you want to breastfeed, give yourself time to get used to it, and give your baby time to get used to it as well. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. At the end of the day, there's formula that you can go and get for your baby, and there were a lot of times that we gave Aubrey formula because it was just hurting me too much, and so I was getting a break. She wasn't having a completely rigid mother every time she was eating, and it also meant that my husband could feed her from time to time as well. So my recommendation would absolutely be breastfeed where you can, bottle feed if you need to. There's not a problem with it, and gives you a break and helps your husband or your partner or whoever to feel a bit more bonded with the baby as well. So that's my kind of tips. But please don't feel like you're failing if you're struggling to breastfeed for whatever reason. You're not failing, you're trying your hardest, and if it's not working, it's not working. at the end of the day, we've got choices, and those choices are formula or to breastfeed. So don't feel like just because you're not breastfeeding, you're somehow not as good a mother, because that's completely untrue. And also, if the midwives give you any stick, give it right back and just tell them that you're trying. But you know, you're not Superwoman, and you've got a body that, and you want your body to be as good a shape as possible. And if that means that you don't breastfeed, then you don't breastfeed. Try not to feel bad about it. All right, bye.